Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Momentum. This is number 267. We're just cranking and moving along, chugging along here. Keep it going. That's 267 days in a row. Excited to have you guys here. I love doing these videos. So hopefully, before we get into today's content, I have my iPad, which I'm really digging. So hopefully, I will love you guys' feedback. Like, how are you liking the iPad videos of drawing everything out? I know my handwriting is not always the best, but I think you guys get the point. Would love to get your feedback on it. But I enjoy doing them. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the content. If you do, before we get into this, if you could head over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. The channel's growing. We're like at we're well over 1,000 now. So guys, I couldn't do any of this without you, right? It's just super cool to be able to do things and be like, man, this really matters, and we're getting really good feedback. So hopefully, I can continue to do that, and videos just like these that actually matter, where we talk about real deals, real conversations, real things that are happening, and not just the real estate world and concepts and things, but actually the real freaking stuff, actual real appointments. Right? We're really in this business. I've showed you guys contracts, and I'm going to continue to break down leads and continue to break down appointments for you guys. You can see, like, hey, is this a deal or it's not a deal? What would you do in this scenario? Before we get Jesus in the truck next week and show Jesus how to get his first deal. And for you guys who don't know, Jesus is our camera guy. So any kind of video you see that Pace puts on his YouTube channel, Cody, or like any of my YouTube videos, it's not me sitting here in my office. Jesus films it. So we're going to teach our camera guy, how to get his first deal. And that's going to start next week after, obviously after Thanksgiving. So it's going to be super dope. But anyways, to the content of this video today. We'd love to get your guys' perspective on an appointment. I was at earlier. So for perspective, over the weekend, I got Mitch his very first deal ever, which is so freaking cool. Brian had another deal that I got last week, his first deal ever. And all they're doing is getting leads, doing the things that we teach and coach here on the channel, which is cold calling and texting and door knocking and these things, just literally getting leads and setting me up. And I'm going and closing them. And they're coming along with me, and they're hearing how I pitch it, how I go about a creative deal or a cash deal or negotiate, like all these things. And we're getting, like, the first deal always changes everything. So obviously it's a big honor. So that leads into today's appointment and what happened today at the appointment. It actually came from Wendy and Brandon. They're going out, they're generating leads, or doing the thing that we've talked about. They were part of season 2, which is the door knocking season. And they set this appointment with someone that was in pre-foreclosure. So a little background on this lead. This lead's in pre-foreclosure, but they're in bankruptcy. For you guys who don't know, you can literally sit in bankruptcy for years if you really postpone and push that thing out over a long period of time. So you're during that period of time, everything's paused. Like the foreclosure, it may look like it's active, but it's just paused. It's not actually going to happen. So it just keeps getting pushed out and keeps getting pushed out. So the people that are in bankruptcy are getting calls from every other person in the market saying, "Hey, you want to sell your house? Hey, do you want to sell your house?" When reality is they don't have to, because they're protected with bankruptcy. So this guy has had this house. He's had a lot of things happen, obviously, with folks that, if you fall behind on your payments, that's just like the first telltale sign of something else is going on here, right? You're probably not making payments in other areas too, or there's other things that are happening maybe behind the scenes. And I got that feeling as I was sitting at the appointment today is, people aren't going to tell you everything. They're not going to give you every little piece of their life. My job is just to decipher what actually matters from what they're telling me, because 9 times out of 10, well, almost 10 times out of 10, they're not going to tell me the full truth, right? They're going to give me what they think I want to know. And likewise, I'm probably going to give them what I think I want them to know, right? To the best of my ability, I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to give you, you know, everything that I could possibly help and consult. But at the same time, I know my strategies is I'm not going to throw out numbers. I'm going to give prices. I need to figure out where this person is at. So this particular lead is in foreclosure, was in bankruptcy, had a ton of pain. But this house is super interesting, and I'm going to break it down for you guys. So here on my iPad, um, let's look at it. So the this particular deal is in a really nice neighborhood in Mesa, Arizona. So I'm going to put Mesa AZ. Okay. So this deal is in Mesa, Arizona. So if you guys are like, what do I need to market in Phoenix? What's some good places to market? Mesa is a fantastic place to market. If you guys are not in Phoenix physically, Mesa is a good place to go. So the ARV on this house, okay, ARV for you guys who don't know is after repair value. Okay, the ARV on this house is probably in the neighborhood of around 600K. All right, so $600,000 is the ARV on this house. That's after it's fixed up. Now going in, I'm gonna put going in based on the notes. Seller had an offer of 535. Whoops, let me erase that. Seller had an offer of 535,000 that he said no to. He's like, no, that's not going to be enough. So going in, he's like, okay, 535, that's not going to be enough. And I'm like, oh gosh. Well, as a cash deal, I can't pay more than that. If the house is worth 600K, I mean, we can do the math here and say $600,000. Let's just do basic math on 600K. So if someone's going to list their house retail for $600,000, they're going to pay commissions. They're going to do all that, right? I mean, after commissions, you're already at 564. That's not even accounting for repairs or profit or, any other thing, holding costs for your money, anything. So definitely losing money if I have to pay more than 535. So I wasn't that optimistic. But what I tell you guys all the time was that there was one thing, right? Why would I take an appointment where seller said no to this? Right? Again, I'm gonna put a little arrow. Seller said no. Not to us, but to someone else. He's like, I had an offer for 535. And this is why it's so funny. So many people go out and think that the number is the magic, the number is the gold. That's not the case. So the seller said no to this number. But why did I say yes to this appointment? Right? Why did I say yes? I said yes because there was a ton of pain. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If there is pain, if there is motivation, I will be able to get the price. I'll be able to get the property at a price that I know I can work with or terms that I know I can work with. So, sitting down with this seller, I figured out a couple things. Okay, so big time notes here. I'm going to put in blue, little star. So this house is in pre-foreclosure. So big note for pre-foreclosure, guys, is when you have any house that's in pre-foreclosure, there are arrears. So arrears is anything that they haven't paid, right? It may be sitting in bankruptcy for a long time, but how much have you, like, when you paused the auction, you filed bankruptcy, how far behind were you on your mortgage and everything else that you owed on the property? So his arrears, not including the any kind of the HOA fees that he had that he's like going through, like he has a lawyer that's fighting his HOA stuff. But his arrears was right around 28K. I'm going to put 30 here for the sake of the argument. So his arrears was $30,000. Okay. So pre foreclosure, his arrears is $30,000, meaning that if he wants to make this loan good again, like, hey, bank lender, I want to pay you what I owe you so I can get back on track. And then I'll just get back to doing what I'm doing. I'll pay you my monthly payment and, I can start rebuilding my credit. Before he can do that, he has to pay this $30,000. That's the arrears. Okay. So with that being said, there is an underlying mortgage on this house. Okay. Underlying mortgage is at, I'm going to put here, $311,000. Okay. So $311,000 is the underlying mortgage. And what's cool is when you guys work with people with pain, they're more than likely going to disclose the terms of that mortgage. So monthly payment, because all this stuff matters, guys. And I'm going to show you why in a second. So the monthly payment on his mortgage is about $1,496. $1,490. Actually, it was $1,498. It's $1498 is his payment on that mortgage, which is so low because he has an interest rate of literally 2.0% on his mortgage. Crazy, 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 crazy. But his monthly payment is $1498, 2% more, 2% interest. Mortgage amount is about $311,000. So now again, like this is a great this is great debt in place. Like the mortgage itself is cool. If I can structure something that can make this work, like a subject to buy it subject to the mortgage, like keep this debt in place, like how can I make this work? Now the challenge with this deal is not only do I need to pay this 30,000 to then get a chance to pay that 1498 at 2%. Another key note here is that he has other liens attached to the property. So before I can buy it, I need to get title insurance. And the only way that title is going to give me title insurance is I got to clear out all these liens and stuff before I can purchase it. So his other liens ends up being around 70,000 that he believes he can negotiate, and that's going to be up to him if he wants to do it. But he believes they're somewhere in the set like some about 70,000. So between the arrears and the liens is about 100K. Okay. Another key note, sorry, I don't want to keep going back to this, but I think it's important to know is this mortgage will be done in 2036. So, like on a typical 30-year mortgage, guys, your first 7 years go to interest. Your first 7 years go to interest, and it takes about anywhere from 10 to 12 years to really start hammering that principal at about a 50% rate, like half and half. So when I was looking at his mortgage payment and what was going towards interest and what was going towards paying the principal, he only has, right at 15 years left on this thing. About to be 14 years. And I was looking at what goes towards the principal and what goes towards interest. Because newsflash, not all of this goes to the principal. Not all 1498 goes to 311. I was looking, it was actually 50-50. So half of this payment was going to pay down principal and half of it was going towards paying the interest, which was so cool. And next year it's going to get even better. So like we're already far into the amortization schedule of this particular loan, which is awesome. So taking over a subject to loan that just originated in 2020 that doesn't get paid off till 2050 is not the same as taking over a loan subject to that is already halfway into its amortization schedule. Again, beginning of a new loan, most of that's going to pay interest. So we'll start to be if we're able to structure this right, we're able to take these payments and most of it starts pounding that principal, right? So we're building, not only do we build a cash flowing asset, but we also get a ton on the upside, right? So you also get a ton on the upside. So I know Juaniro, I said, I need to see this video a few times to understand this deal. Yes, I think that's why I'm doing it on the channel. So you can go back and rewatch this. But I want you guys to see like what we look at when we're going for a creative deal. I'm just writing these things out so you guys can kind of see my thought process here. And I did a video just like this yesterday on another creative deal. So liens, 70K, pre-foreclosure, the arrears, 30K. So all in all, if he was to walk away with $0, right? So I'm going to go to total payoff. Total payoff, meaning that how much he has to clear before he sees any cash. He would need to pay off 30 plus 311 plus 70, right? So that ends up being right around 411,000, not including any other fees. So about 411,000 is his total payoff. So he doesn't see anything above that. Right. He doesn't see anything below that. Now, after talking to him for a little bit, I was really trying to focus on like what does he really need, right? What does this guy really need? And that's what I want you guys to focus on when you're talking to sellers and you're trying to figure out pain. I want you guys to think to yourself, what does my prospect really need / care about? That's the important thing. Let me go back to my notes. That's the important thing. What does my prospect really need / care about? So for this particular guy, he cared about Number one, he needed time. So he wants to get this done fast, but he needs time to stay in the property. So this is in the form of a post possession. Okay. He wants to stay until the end of February. So we'd have to eat the money before we can do anything to this. And number two, he wants to definitely sell it as is. Okay. And he would like something residual on this. He doesn't care if he gets cashed out on this property. He would like to see something that's residual. Now, with that being said, we can be flexible with the time. We can definitely buy it as is, right? That's kind of what we do. That's the name of this game. But the residual aspect is pretty interesting here. So this guy is open to keeping this as a subject too. After talking to him, he was originally at 535, guys. 535. So that would be us coming out of pocket, not only just because in order for us to take over this mortgage subject too, I have to pay off the arrears, right? I'm going to go back and just star this so you guys can see. I have to pay off this guy and I have to pay off this guy in order to take over this, right? I'm going to just do 2 arrows. In order for me to make that happen, I got to pay off those other two. So if he wanted 535, I had to pay off 30 plus 70 plus what is that? Another $124,000. So I have to come out of pocket $224,000. No freaking thank you. That ruins the deal. It's like having a completely second mortgage, and that ruins the payment. I want to keep this payment as close as I can to what it currently is, right? So after talking to him and going over like, hey, what the situation is, how we can help, what would be the most important thing for him is time, as is, and residual. He decided that he's like, you know what? If I can get my liens negotiated, which he can, there's some that he's going to be able to negotiate. If he's able to, if he, not me, if he can work on this number here, the seller, right? And we pay the arrears, he knows obviously he's going to walk away with more money. So after talking to him and working our way backwards, I want you guys to really take note of this. Don't focus on the total price. Don't focus on total price. What do we focus on anyways? We want to focus on walk away cash. Okay. Focus on walk away cash. So after talking to him and figuring out like, okay, if I know the total payoff is 411 and he's going to have to pay off these liens, I don't want to buy this on a land contract, and that's just getting way too complicated for you guys. What do you really need to walk away with? So after he was like considering his numbers and thinking about what he would do, he's like, well, you know what? Here's my initial terms. If I, right? And I'm like, okay, where do we need to be? He said he would carry the paper. He would do a seller carry, right? So he would carry paper. That's just another word for he will carry the note. He'll carry the paper under these terms. With terms, he would want, he initially said 150,000, but he backtracked and said he would want 125K. Okay, down. Don't know what happened here. He would want 125K down. Okay, and he would want a bump on the interest. He would want a 1% interest. I gotta erase this again. It's too small. He would want a 1% interest rate. Interest bump. We can do this in the form of, with the interest bump, we can do this in the form of doing a wrap, or I can just figure out what that 1% would be and just structure it as like a second note, which is probably what we're going to do. I don't want to do a wrap on this deal. So what just happened here, guys, with focusing on his walkaway cash, he knows that if we can commit to this number, right? If we can commit to this number right here, he can seriously go on and work on his liens. So 125K, right? 125K down would go towards paying off the arrears and paying off the liens, and whatever's left over he would get. And he knows, he's probably like, yeah, I'm gonna get one over on these guys because I'm gonna be able to get these liens down. He knows the more that he works in those liens, the more cash he's gonna get. And by focusing on the walkaway cash, just like that, he dropped his price by $100,000. Dropped his price by a freaking 100 grand by focusing on the walkaway cash. Because if you do the math, 125 plus 311 is 436. 436 by focusing on walkaway cash. So how I did that numbers is I would do 125 again for you guys here, plus the 311 that he owes would be our total purchase price. Equals total purchase price of, that is $436,000, going from 535 cashed out to he's going to sell this house for 436 with this number down, 125K down, and he would get 1% interest through the remaining term of this loan. So over the next 15 years, he would get 1% interest on whatever's left. Right? So, I mean, I don't even know. Let's see what that number is. Try to pull up my BII calculator here. So if you guys don't have this calculator, super dope. It's the 10 BII calculator. It'll help you do like this type of stuff. So if we purchase this house and he has a remaining 311,000 is the present value at 1% interest times 15. 15. Yeah. So he'll end up getting like, I don't know, a little over $100 every quarter, because he'd prefer to be paid quarterly. So he's going to get a little over $100 every quarter. So like $500 a year, maybe a tad bit more, for the next 15 years. And that makes sense for him. He's like, that's what I want to do. So again, guys, like, it's not my job to try to have sellers make rational decisions or to say, hey, that's a good investment opportunity, or I don't know if that's the best investment opportunity. But for him, it solves his problem because he's like, yep, this is what I want to do. I want to sell it as is. And if we can focus and structure this as a walkaway cash at that much money, I'll take care of the liens, I'll take care of the arrears. And, obviously whatever's left of that is just his, and he'll get his 1% interest. So we go from literally a 2% loan to a 3% loan for the remainder of the term, which is totally cool with me. But again, we'll probably work our way backwards and just figure out what that 1% payment would be and just pay it to him directly as a second note that's recorded. So this is a little bit higher level kind of deal, but like, if you look at this, it's actually pretty straightforward. I could easily cash this dude out. I can easily, at 436, this is a cash deal too, right? So total purchase price being 436, I could cash him out of this deal because I'm buying it about 150K less than retail. And the property needs, I'm going to put here and here, and I'm going to put repairs. So to get rent ready or to get market ready, I would probably say conservatively, you could do about 30K and it would go a really long way in this property. So if I even did 30K of repairs at 436, like, I could cash this guy out and we would make a handsome amount on the flip. Okay. So like, either way, this deal would work. So this is a great opportunity to do a subtail if we wanted to. This is a great opportunity to still hold this. You can, because I mean, like, the piece that's advantageous here for really any investor is that you don't have to go out and get a loan, right? I don't need to go get a hard money 10% loan. I don't have to go get a 12% loan on this money. If I wanted to do the flip, the only place that I need to get money on would be here at the 125 and the 30K in repairs. So, like, easy peasy. That is like nothing to it. Much cheaper than getting 10 to 12% money. So that's why a subtail works, right? It doesn't just work because, oh, it's a subject to deal, it should work. No, it works because just the money's cheaper. But either way, at 436, that's a no-brainer deal. Now, we'd work out the terms to where it's like, if we decide to resell this before the full term, right? And this is important conversations to have, because if he's going to be making 1% interest, he's thinking like, oh, I'm going to make 1% for 15 years. It's like, okay, well, what if we resell it in 1 year? Then what? Right. So we'd probably have some sort of prepayment deal. Right. So it's like, hey, if we do sell this in a short term, whether that be in 2 months, 2 years, or in 15 years, if we don't see this thing all the way through, we'd probably have some deal with him to say, hey, we'll give you like 10 grand or something if we decide to pay this thing off all, sooner than later. Or maybe that's 5 grand. But again, the cool thing about working with sellers like this, is that they're at least open to the conversation, right? When they start throwing terms out, it's like, okay, now we can play this game. And I want you guys to understand that too. When you start talking to sellers and they start throwing out their own terms, like that's not the end of the discussion. It's really just the beginning, right? You can massage the numbers, you can go back and forth a little bit to find something that works and makes sense for both of you guys. All we need is like whenever he gave me this right here, I'm like, bam, it's game time. Game time. We can make something work here. Okay. And again, this deal works either way. This could be a cash deal. This could be a long-term hold. Like even at 125K, if I needed to put that much money down, which we never do on a subject to deal, it's just that this deal has a massive amount of equity in it that, it would still most likely work. If I were to buy this, let's see. Yeah. So if we were to buy this, this actually works as an Airbnb because it is in an Airbnb area. You could technically put $125,000 down at 10% interest. Your payment would go from $1,498 to about $2,500. But I know Pace has a Airbnb right there that's not even in the gate. So this is in a gated subdivision. Pace's Airbnb that does like 6 grand a month is right on the like literally the street across in the same subdivision, just not in the gated part. Does 6 grand a month. So like I know this deal also pencils in as a great Airbnb as well. So if I wanted to hold on to this and do that long-term deal, right? And do that long-term, the Jesus texting me, do that long-term hold, it would still work as an Airbnb as well. But honestly, I feel like the exit here is just to do the flip, right? Either taking it on with only having to come out of pocket the 125 plus the 30K for the flip, or, of course, we still reserve the right to hold on to it. So that's the cool thing. So when you structure deals creatively and you do something like this where he knows that I would be taking over the 311,000 subject to, giving him $125,000 to play with, do whatever you want, pay your arrears, pay your liens, whatever's left is yours, and we'll give you your interest bump of 1%, right? Almost like he's wrapping it to us. But at that point we can control it. Do we want to flip it? There's a lot of money to be made here on the flip. Do we want to hold on to it and Airbnb it? There's a lot of money to be made here on Airbnb, right? We bought this thing with a tremendous amount of equity. So we know this deal works that way too. Do we want to wrap this? I don't know if I want to wrap this because I'd be banking on someone coming in with even more money than 125K down, right? I'd be hoping for someone who's just going to pay for the house in cash or something, or just a ridiculous amount of money. So, there's multiple exit strategies, but the cool thing about subject to is if you can get a little creative, you can control these properties and you can get crazy deals like this where you can figure out what you want to do with it. And even if you're like, well, Matt, I don't have 125K to put down on a property. Are you crazy? Guys, private money. Find people who want to be put in deals. There's plenty of people out here who have that much money There's plenty of people out here who have 125K and would love to get 10% on their money, right? So that is the goal. That is the key. So what we're going to continue to do on this channel is every single day. Tomorrow, I got to go to subject to deal signed. I'll do another breakdown on that one. These are like advanced concepts. I get it, but I want you guys to understand why these numbers matter and where they come from. And when we start doing these, we start thinking about different exit strategies. It's not always going to be a cash deal. This one works as a cash deal, but it's not always going to work, right? And sometimes people just don't want that. So if you can approach a situation as in how you just really putting that prospect first, how can you help this person? You say, like Matt, are you pulling a specific list for subject to? Are you pulling a specific list for creative finance? No, we're calling the same people. Just the folks have to be motivated. Great. You have someone who's motivated to sell their house. How can we help them? Is it a cash deal? Is it subject to? Is it a subject to hybrid that we just showed? Is it a creative finance deal? Is it a, something with a land contract? Is it a subtail, a whole tail? Is it a listing? Yeah. There's plenty of times where they have a ton of pain and I still can't work anything with them on any of those things. I can't do any of the other options. I can just refer them to a realtor and I know they're going to list their property with them and I'm going to make a referral fee. So guys, that is how you monetize your leads. It's like there's no one shoe fits all. It's approaching these situations uniquely, solving problems, and just know that you have multiple tools in your tool belt. And it's our job to monetize these leads. So I know that was a lot in this video. Heck, we went on 30 minutes here. So I wasn't really planning on that, but hopefully you guys got some value from this video. Again, and remind you, if you haven't already, head over to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe. I see a lot of you guys commenting. Juaniro, thanks for being here. Bernard, thanks for being here. Excellent information. I already have a headache. I love it. Well, look, go back and watch some of this stuff. It's obviously on record. Big things that I care about when they're in foreclosure is what's the arrears? Is there any other liens? Because I'm going to have to pay those things before I can make that loan good again. Because I want to take over a loan that's in good standing because I want that debt to stay there for as long as I possibly can hold it if I'm going to be planning to hold this debt long term. There's times where we take on deals where they don't cash flow, but it's cheaper for us to take on that debt and make those monthly payments than me go make double that payment on hard money to do the flip. So it actually saves us money that way, right? So approaching it with different eyes, trying to figure out, okay, how can I make this advantageous for the prospect, but also advantageous for me so we can make money as well. So that's the goal, guys. There's a lot of people who struggle in this real estate business. There's a lot of folks who put their leads in a box. A lot of people are like, everything's got to be wholesale. Everything's got to be this. I don't want you guys to be that. I want you guys to take away from these videos, go back and watch why these things matter, focusing on the prospect, what they really care about. Again, one of the biggest things I hope you take away is don't focus on the price, focus on the cash they're going to walk away with and work your way backwards. We're able to get $100,000 price reduction because we focus on the walk away cash. So guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I know this is a long video for all you guys who were tuning in and hopefully you were taking notes along the way. Go back to the YouTube channel, rewatch this. If you need to take notes, it'll be there forever. So guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. We'll see you next time. Peace.